Hey animation winners, Posey here. Apologies if my voice is a bit off, I've been sick the last few days. It sure has been a while, good god, but I'm glad to finally bring you another video. Some of you may remember that this channel's last video from the Whovian era, before Fots and I took over, was about Songs of War, the Minecraft animated fantasy series by Black Plasma Studios I happen to be a big fan of. Well, Animation Sins, the videos of which we've covered in the past, made a video criticizing Songs of War back in 2019, more specifically its first episode. As you can see, it was a little controversial. Now, we must ask ourselves the question, was this video really so bad at criticizing Songs of War, or was the backlash a little undeserved? Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Considering everything that's happening in this scene, that Wither is doing a whole lot of nothing.
You say this, only for the Wither to immediately turn around and fire a skull about a second later. Also, it's pretty clear that even before that, the Wither is prowling around and looking for a target just like they do in Minecraft. What else do you expect it to be doing?
I don't think a spear would be able to pierce bone like that at that distance, unless you had the strength of 1,000 men.
Hold up, do you seriously not think a metal spear being thrown like this could pierce bone? It's relatively easy for a knife or a sword to puncture a human skull. It can be assumed a spear would do the same, especially when traveling at the speed we see in this shot.
Our world, Ardonia, is a vast land.
This scene, though beautiful, does present one issue. The mountains in the background are that of a heavily terraformed world, meaning someone went in and built those mountains. Yet, the area the camera is in looks like non-terraformed standard Minecraft generation. Looking out into that from here just doesn't look quite right.
What? Variety in the scenery? No!
This parrot dashes forward 2 feet.
That's not unnatural. One of them just happens to speed up for a moment. Do you think birds don't do that in real life?
Also, the parrot's flight has no ups and downs, and their wings are still flapping as they glide.
Genuine question, do you think these birds are gliding or not? Birds don't constantly go up and down when gliding, they fly smoothly. If you think the birds in this shot are gliding, despite them flapping their wings, why sin the lack of ups and downs? On the other hand, if you don't think they're gliding, why would you say they are? You're incorrect either way, and this is a confusing sin all around.
Thus, they were given to the masters of the 4 Ardoni clans.
This animation could have almost been taken seriously, but then these weapons showed up on screen.
Critiquing eccentric weapon designs in a Minecraft animated series about walking glow sticks wielding magic cubes. Seriously, out of everything so far, these staffs are what killed the immersion for you? I'm also going to point out just how condescending this was. It feels less like genuine criticism and more like the Animation Sins writers are just crapping all over the creativity of these designs. Let's do a thought experiment for a moment. The year is 1977. You're in the theaters watching this cool brand new movie, Star Wars. You and the rest of the audience start off exploring the basic setting of Tatooine, becoming accustomed to the status quo and the characters within, and then you get to the part where the wise old isolated hermit Obi-Wan Kenobi reveals the lightsaber. Just then, a pretentious snob next to you stands up and exclaims, "This movie could have almost been taken seriously," but then that weapon showed up on screen. Tell me, what would you do in this scenario? If I had to guess, you would rightfully tell him to shut up, as what he is saying has nothing of value and is merely attacking the creativity of the film. I will do the same here in regards to Animation Sins. 5 counter sins.
Considering their size, these flames aren't lighting up their surroundings as much as they should be.
This would be a valid point if you demonstrated how much you think they should be lighting up. Even showing an image of a real fire to use as your point of reference would go a long way.
This dude here is completely still. Completely still. Completely still. Completely still.
Revealed himself as Ingressus.
All of these Ardoni's glow textures aren't actually in their body, and it can be seen here.
Your point being, they have markings. The glow is supposed to be on the outside.
There is too much rotating during this turnaround animation. None of their feet are planted on the ground, causing them to look like they're just sliding around.
Too much rotating in a turnaround animation? Do you have any idea how absurd this claim sounds? The sin that follows is valid, but this sentence could have been worded better.
Ingressus set out alone to reclaim the Prime Songs.
Again, there's noticeable foot sliding here.
You would have had a point if you had left out the word noticeable. Due to the lighting in the shot, I doubt anyone would have noticed without having actively looked for it.
The cube very gently floats to a stop.
You mean it slides to a stop? As it should?
He became known as the Death Singer.
The lighting should be made better so that this dude doesn't blend into the background. Maybe by adding grays to his design instead of wholly dark grays and blacks, and changing the lighting so light shines on him. It would add more intensity to the scene and bring a feeling of power.
Is it really that hard to see him? Also, I feel like Ingressus blending into the fire was the point of this shot to show that he's being consumed by his actions and the destruction he's caused.
The Ender Knights rallied under King Rendor and fought the Nether head-on.
This Ender Knight floats up the dragon's wing for a second here. Also, these dragons take off and float as if they weighed as much as a feather.
They have wings and the strength to propel themselves. Need I say more?
Not only is the Nether Army's run cycle a jittery mess, it's noticeably copy-pasted.
Sinning the noticeable copying and pasting of the run cycles is fair enough, but the point before that is where I have an issue. The run cycles are supposed to be jittery, seeing as the majority of this army is comprised of skeletons.
Finally! 7.5 minutes in and we finally get the title screen. Seriously though, this is the opposite of good story writing. Information dumping is usually a telltale sign of a bad story.
As much as I love the prologue, I 100% agree, and this is a great point to raise.
Also, one tiny thing.
The title card text isn't centered.
I guess us narrators are just born with severe OCD.
Why would you poke fun at how dumb and nitpicky this sin is, and yet still apply it?
The falling snow particles bug out for a moment here.
I could barely see the issue here, even with this small area in direct focus. That's pretty telling of just how little of a problem this is, and how little it will affect the casual viewer's enjoyment.
And another, much more obvious particle bug.
It's not obvious.
Stone textures are not meant to be reflective like this. These end up looking bad because of it. A way to fix this would be to lower the reflections to a more believable amount.
This is not stone. There is ice on the floor, which is why the reflection is so strong.
I'm aware you've been hunting Voltaris ever since the Great War ended.
What's the point of the shot? All you're doing is taking us away from the scene and distracting us from the dialogue.
It's a cool shot with a unique angle that spices up the scene. If it wasn't there, the whole conversation would consist of boring close-up shots, which is something I believe you would also sin.
Sirs, you are both literally just walking into a cloudy white void.
You can't go one video without an obligatory void sin, can you?
The sword's magical glow dims down abruptly here.
Because it's transitioning from a state of active enchantment to a state of passive enchantment. This is not a sin because David literally explains it in the behind the scenes.
In Songs of War, we deviated a bit from Minecraft with our enchantments and gave them both an idle and an activated state.
Where did Dalius' markings go? The ones on the back of his arm have disappeared.
That's not the back of his arm, that's the inward side of his arm, since it's currently bent. As you can see with this Nova Skin demonstration, there are no markings there. In conclusion, this video is heavily flawed, and at times it makes some glaringly awful criticisms and pointless nitpicks. However, and I know some people will disagree with me here, I do not believe it was bad enough to deserve the sheer amount of backlash it got. This was not even close to being one of the worst animation sins videos. I know this is a controversial take, but I have to set aside my subjective love for Songs of War just for this moment. In spite of all the bad and unnecessary sins, there were just as much, if not more, valid criticisms of the animation errors within Songs of War. The BPC was quick to crap on it because it critiqued Songs of War in the first place, but in my opinion, this was actually a decent video, and one of the better ones made by Animation Sins. Of course, feel free to debate me in the comments if you wish, I'm open to a discussion. Anyway, before I end the video, I just want to say that I am once again so sorry for the lack of channel activity in the last few months. As always, this is because I'm busy in real life and busy running my main channel. However, for the first time, I can confidently say Animation Wins may be on an upward track, because I've recently been in contact with several amazing people who are interested in joining the team and elevating our work to new levels. There's not much I can reveal right now as we're still in the process of discussing things, but I'll have you know I'm incredibly excited for the future, and I hope you are too. With that said, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time, whenever that is.